after Janice the fourth.
Thank you very much, Committee Secretary. May I acknowledge the presence of our distinguished resource persons who are with us this afternoon. And just so that we can have one run, I presume that our resource persons were able to peruse this bill that we'll be tackling this afternoon, as well as some of the issues related to the passage of the SSL4 and the other benefits of the veterans and retirees that we have been initiating the past few years. So let's start with the Department of National Defense. Yusek Batino, please.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair of the Defense Committee for the Philippine Senate. With your permission, sir. Due to the problem at hand, the government conducted a comparative actuarial study on the existing pension systems of all uniformed services, the results of which affirm that the pension costs of all uniformed services were indeed rapidly increasing every year. In fact, it was conservatively estimated by the GSIS that the total pension costs of the AFP alone shall eventually surpass the total salaries and allowances paid to AFP active personnel by the year 2022. This so-called ballooning of pension costs was mainly attributable to several features identified by the government to be present in all existing retirement laws of the uniformed services, one of which is the automatic indexation feature, which pegs the pension entitlement of a retiree to be automatically adjusted based on the prevailing scale of base pay of similarly ranked active personnel. Another unique feature, Your Honor, is that our pension system for all uniformed services is non-contributory in nature. The budget for the pension for uniformed services comes from the annual general appropriations of the government. It bears stressing that the automatic indexation feature was identified by the government to be the most significant factor in the ballooning of pension costs for the uniformed services. However, this department also posits that Section 8, Article 16 of the 1987 Constitution must be duly considered. It states that the state shall from time to time review to increase the pensions and other benefits due to retirees of both the government and the private sectors. Thus, in lieu of the automatic indexation feature, this honorable committee may consider to provide a provision in the bill that the executive department, including the budgetary and finance departments, to conduct a periodic review for the purpose of determining the increase of retirement benefits and pension for retired uniformed personnel based on prevailing economic conditions. We believe that if the increases for the uniformed personnel retirement would be based on prevailing economic conditions, then the same mechanism would be more grounded and would be more grounded and would be more prudent. Finally, the government also stated that due to the non-contributory nature of the existing pension system of all uniformed services, no seed fund was ever established. The establishment of a seed fund is necessary for the purpose of generating sufficient interest income to fund the annual pension requirements of all uniformed services. It is worthy to note that if no reforms are introduced in the near future to the existing pension systems of all uniformed services, it was computed that the seed fund requirement shall amount to 5 trillion pesos, 5.5 trillion pesos. However, if reforms, specifically the deletion of the automatic indexation feature and the formulation of a mandatory contributory scheme are implemented, then the amount shall be significantly lowered to 2 trillion pesos. This just emphasizes the fact, Your Honor, that there is an urgent need to implement pension reforms to ensure, Your Honor, as mentioned in the explanatory note, the continued implementation of the pension system and the continued payment of these entitlements to the retirees. That is all, Your Honor. Thank you.
So just for the record, Yusek Batino, you are in favor of this bill, on behalf of the DND.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. May we now move to General Alquisa, the Executive Director of the PMAAAI. Sir, good afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I come here not only representing the PMA Alumni Association, but I was also authorized to speak for the Association of General and Flag Officers, of which I am a director. The issues or comments made by Undersecretary Batino may have some valid basis, but our point is that there are existing laws that already vest in the retirees this privilege. So, in short, our position is we are against the bill insofar as the repeal of the provisions of the existing laws like PD 1638 and similar laws affecting the other uniformed services. But if the repeal, because of the reason cited by Undersecretary Batino, must pass through, then our position is the repeal should be applicable only to the new entrants into the uniformed services, meaning to say, those coming into the service after the approval of the bill. For those who are already retired and are enjoying this provision of the law on adjustment of pension to the rate of pay of those in the active service, and even those future retirees, those in the active service now but will soon be retiring, they are already vested that right or benefit, because when they enter the service, the provision is already there, and they were expecting that when they do retire themselves, they will also benefit from the same provision. So our proposal, Mr. Chairman, is to I'll go straight to the Section 5, which is the section that provides for the repeal. We do recommend the deletion of the second sentence of the first paragraph of Section 5 of the bill and the insertion of a proviso in the first sentence, such that the first paragraph of Section 5 shall read, and I quote, "The pertinent provisions and the pertinent portions of A, Section 17, PD 1638, B. Section 3, Republic Act 5976, Section 75 of RA 6795 as amended by Section 34 RA 10575, inasmuch as they relate to adjustments in retirement benefits and pension based on the prevailing scale of base pay of active uniformed personnel are hereby repealed, provided that the repeal shall apply only to the new entrants as defined in Section 3E above. Mr. Chairman, the reason for this proposal is that the adjustment in retirement benefits and pension of the existing retirees based on the prevailing scale of base pay of those in the active service, which is a right or benefit vested in them by the aforecited provisions of law and is already being enjoyed by them, should not be repealed. The herein proposed repeal, which is grossly unfair and highly unjust to the existing retirees, is in the nature of an ex post facto law or a violation of Section 22, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution. The repeal should be prospective in application and therefore applicable only to the new entrants. Insofar as the future retirees, those now still in the active service, is concerned, the repeal should not also apply to them because one reason or incentive that attracted them to enter the uniformed services, especially military, despite the risk to life and limb attendant to the uniformed service profession, is the retirement benefits with the adjustment in pension as provided for by law. It is an expected entitlement or benefit they would get after retirement, and to deprive them now, pursuant to the proposed bill, is unjust and unfair to them. The proposed repeal is also considered a class legislation, as it limits itself only to the uniformed personnel of the uniformed services. It is discriminatory to the retired military and uniformed personnel, because it does not cover, the bill does not cover the other groups of government retirees, particularly the members of the judiciary, who by law, I think it is Section 4 of RA 9946, are also entitled to adjustment in their pension to the rates of pay of those in the active service. If the proposed repeal is pushed through, so it will not be considered a class legislation, it should also cover all other retirees, including the members of the judiciary, if any, whose pension is also adjusted to days of pay of the active service. Now, insofar as the funding, it is noted that there is no provision in the bill on fund sources for the payment of the monthly pension of the existing retirees and the future retirees. Section 6 of the bill provides for the establishment of a uniform personnel retirement fund to be managed by the GSIS for the sustainability of the retirement benefits and pension of uniformed personnel, but with the limited sources from mandatory contributions from the new entrants and with government counterpart contribution and from additional sources from proceeds derived from the sale of certain assets of the government. This UPRF appears to be intended only for retirement benefits of the new entrants. It is therefore also recommended, Mr. Chairman, that a new section be inserted providing that while the UPRF is still insufficient to pay the pension of the existing retirees and the future retirees, the government shall continue to include in the yearly General Appropriations Acts the necessary funds for the retirement benefits and pension of the existing retirees and the future retirees. In view of the foregoing, Mr. Chairman, we respectfully request for the committee's kind and favorable consideration of our proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So noted, sir. We now move to Admiral De Los Reyes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank the Chairman for inviting me before the committee as a resource person. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to read the position paper I submitted to you earlier, which is a personal one. I do not represent any organization.
Yes, sir.
Paragraph 1, Section 6 of the bill provides for the creation of a uniform personnel retirement fund to be managed by the GSIS to sustain the retirement benefits and pension of uniformed personnel, which the bill defines to include, among others, the AFP officers and enlisted personnel. Section 6 provides that military personnel, the new entrants, will contribute to the fund, initially 5% for the first 3 years, up to maximum 9% of monthly compensation after 6 years upon enactment of the bill. Comments. Since the AFP was organized under Commonwealth Act No. 1, the pension of the retired military personnel had been provided through the annual appropriation. Only the life insurance of those in the active service was covered by GSIS, in which the soldiers contributed 5% of their base pay and the government 1%. Such coverage was stopped under the new GSIS Act. And even during the PCINP era, the pension of the uniformed PC personnel was provided through annual appropriation, while the GSIS provided for the life insurance and pension of the INP personnel. Under the DILG Act of 1990, or RA 6974, the government in effect applied the military pension system to the police, even granting 90% maximum pension vis-a-vis 85% in the military. The following are possible reasons why AFP personnel have never been required to contribute to a pension fund. A. The Philippine government adopted the U.S. government's practice. The U.S. military personnel do not contribute to the retirement pension fund. Hence, their pension is provided through annual appropriation and adjusted annually through grant of cost of living adjustments or COLAs. I have a tab which I will read later on, Mr. Chairman, on what the pay and pension systems of the United States government are. B. The tasks of military personnel are much different from those of civilian government employees, like combat duty, 24-hour duty alerts whenever called for, without the benefit of overtime pay, recall to active duty even after retirement, etc. Hence, recommend that the military be excluded from the coverage of Senate Bill number 3031. Number 2, I concur with the provision of Section 4, which will increase the maximum pension of retired military personnel to 90% of base pay, equal to that for civilian government employees and the PNP. However, this provision might as well be included in Section 111 of Senate Bill number 3009, or the Salary Standardization Law of 2015. Although I learned that yesterday the bill was already approved in third reading. Paragraph 3, I concur with the deactivation of the AFP RSBS, termination of contributions, and return of contributions to military personnel pursuant to Sections 8, 9, and 10 respectively. However, such may be covered under another bill for the purpose should the military be excluded in the coverage of the Senate Bill number 3031. Paragraph 4, the bill should provide for life insurance of uniformed personnel. The life insurance coverage for military personnel in the active service should also be restored as a function of GSIS. The contribution for the insurance shall be 3% from the member and 3% from the government, similar to that provided to civilian employees before the enactment of the new GSIS Act. Going back to the paragraph 1A, Mr. Chairman, may I be allowed to read the tab of my paper, which is the various information on the U.S. federal employees' pay and pension systems. The United States federal employees, to include military personnel in the active service, do not receive adjustments similar to what the Philippine government provides to government employees, such as increases in pay fully implemented in 2012 and as being planned for 2016 and to 2019. Rather, their salaries are fixed by grades, ranks. However, they are granted annual cost of living adjustments or COLAs based on the Consumer Price Index as the federal government may determine. 2. Contribution to pension fund. Employees contribute to their federal government pension fund through monthly salary deduction, except the military personnel who do not contribute to such fund. Their pension fully is provided through annual appropriation. 3. Adjustment of pension. All retired federal employees, like those who are in the active service, are entitled to annual pension adjustments through COLAs. 4. SSS pension. All federal employees, to include military personnel, are required to contribute for the SSS pension fund. Hence, they receive pensions from the federal government and also from the SSS. This tab, Mr. Chairman, was based on some interviews I made from a retired U.S. Navy enlisted, a retired federal employee, civilian employee, and another retired Navy officer who had been assigned as a liaison officer at the Pacific Command. And of course, this would be subject to validation of the committee as it may deem necessary, and perhaps in the future it could serve as a reference. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Admiral De Los Reyes. Let me acknowledge the presence of Senator Gingona for providing us with the quorum. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
We now move on to Vice Admiral Marayag.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor. The proposal on the Uniformed Services Retirement System is a big step to address twin concerns. Number one is the ballooning pension requirements of the uniformed personnel, and number two, the fragmented pension administration that harbors inefficiencies and allows disparities in granting benefits. The upward trend in government pension allocation to the uniformed services is due to the following: the non-contributory nature of pension scheme, the automatic indexation to the salaries of active personnel, and comparatively generous benefit package. While the government recognizes the dedicated services of its uniformed civil servants, one must wisely devise an efficient funding mechanism that can underwrite the current and future liabilities to this government personnel. This entails the provision of funds or contributions coming from both the active uniformed personnel and the government, supplemented by other sources. These funds are then invested to generate income sufficient to support the pension of retired personnel. The RSBS was created in 1973 precisely for such purpose, but it was underfunded from the very start. Actual operation of the new funding mechanism started in 1976 with a seed money of under 100 million out of the 200 million pesos earmarked by PD 361. It collected contributions from the members equivalent to 4% of their base pay. At that time, the pension requirement for existing and future pensioners reached 1 billion pesos. 3 years after its operation, the government promulgated PD 1638 that amended the old retirement law and increased the benefit package. The lack of funding, coupled with new, more expensive benefit package based on actuarial projections, indicated the impossibility to attain self-sufficiency, prompting government to amend PD 361. This amendatory decree, PD 1656, mandated the government to assume the full responsibility of providing pension to military personnel and ordered the return of members' contributions as they retire or separate from the service. The second cause of increasing pension of retired personnel is automatic indexation. This provision, mandated by PD 1638, was for all intents and purposes logical and meritorious to allow pension adjustments whenever the salaries of active members of the uniformed services are increased. This scheme protects the pensioners from receiving pensions eroded by inflation. But there were instances in the past that such adjustments were far too fast compared with other sectors of the working population. Since 1981, the average salary increase granted to the uniformed personnel has been once every 1.5 years. Over a 31-year period, a colonel's basic pay of $2,429 in 1981 increased nearly 20-fold to $47,000, while that of a master sergeant by over 40 times, from $520 to $21,771. During the same period, the purchasing power of the peso, with year 2000 as the base year, deteriorated from 8.29 pesos to 0.61 peso, roughly 14 times. While such indexation is necessary to arrest inflation, the determination of actual pension increases is better left to government economic and financial managers, who shall annually determine and initiate the implementation of timely pension increases. Third reason for the pension rise is the list of benefits spelled out by PD 1638, the current pension law. Few would question the better or generous pension and separation benefit package given to the uniformed personnel, but such packages must not be overly superior to other sectors of the country's workforce. For example, the pension rate based on one rank higher base pay was copied from the old law, RA 340, that was passed few years after Second World War. The plausible reason for such move was to express to the servicemen the gratitude of the nation for their heroism during the World War, backed up by adequate government finances. But the security environment has changed. The uniformed personnel salary is competitive with private sector enterprises and has similar benchmark as other government agencies. GSIS pensioners reckon their pension rate from the average of their last 36-month service. Is not granting the title or rank of the next higher grade for those whose retirement grade is below colonel not enough to recognize the contribution of this personnel to the country? The survivorship benefits of uniformed personnel are also higher than other groups of government and private workers. Apart from arresting the geometric pension increase, the proposal of Senator Trillanes strongly infer ensuring an efficient pension administration. Unifying the fragmented pension systems will certainly reduce operating costs. Each of the 7 uniformed services enumerated in the bill provides human, physical, and financial resources to attend to the respective pensioners. A single administrator would be more cost-effective to operate and maintain. These fragmented structures allowed one noticeable difference in granting benefits. The AFP, the core of the nation's armed forces, receives lesser creditable years of service than its counterparts, 34 years for the AFP and 36 years for other uniformed services. The proposal under Section 4 of Senate Bill 3031 is highly commendable indeed. While unification is the way to go, it should not only cover the uniformed services, but other pension systems as well. Having raised the rationale for unification of uniformed services pension systems, there are other issues that need comprehensive review. A pension system comprises basically of 3 components: administration, funding mechanism, and benefits package. The proposal contained in the bill assigns the administration of the unified system to GSIS by creating a new unit under it. This may be commendable at initial glance, but great caution must be observed. The IT and records management must be strengthened, if not modernized. Given the number of members served by GSIS, increasing its clients by 25% to 30% may put heavy burden on the organization. There must be a clear and realistic timeline to achieve the unification objective. On the funding side, the 27% contribution rate may not suffice given the existing benefits package, especially by granting the AFP additional 5% creditable service for those reaching 36 years accumulated service to be at par with the other uniform services and maintaining the current benefits provided by PD 1638. With existing GSIS contribution rate of 21%, the 6% disparity between the civilian and uniform personnel within the same organization may invite some criticisms, even if the government shoulders the difference. In sum, there is a need to recalculate the benefits package scores. The benefits package granted to uniformed personnel is probably superior to their counterparts in government service. The survivor of a civilian employee receives 25% less than that of a uniformed personnel. One benefit that is worth looking into is the survivorship rate of those who die while in the active service after more than 20 years. As it is now provided by PD 1638, the designated beneficiary of the lowest ranking enlisted personnel who dies in line of duty even with less than a year of service receives 50% of the basic pay of the deceased. On the other hand, the survivor of soon-to-be retired high-ranking officer who dies receives the same percentage of 50%. It will be sound that beneficiaries of those who die after the optional retirement period of 20 years should be entitled with pension based on the number of years served at 2.5% per year of service multiplied by their basic and longevity pays. Other provisions that need to be amended or incorporated into the bill should include the following. Number one, widows or widowers of uniformed personnel should not lose their pensions when they remarry. This will prevent cohabitation and preserve the sanctity of marriage. This will also ensure that they have a source of income for the children and other expenses to maintain their well-being, as marrying someone is not an assurance of financial stability. This proposal is within the general principles of Social Security. Number two, the frequency of pension increases should be specified using a measure of time, usually in years and not periodic, which is relative that could lead to complacency, abuse, or even purely political machination. A great majority of pensioners is in their twilight years, having spent their prime years in the service. Number three, there should be a provision treating the mentally challenged and physically handicapped children of uniformed personnel who died in line of duty. The 21-year-old limit may have to be raised to a certain degree, a certain level. Number four, uniformed personnel who died or incurred total permanent disability in line of duty, irrespective of number of years in the uniformed service, shall be considered retired for purposes of survivorship benefits. Number five, the retirement age of 56 years for both officers and enlisted personnel should be reconsidered. In Indonesia and Malaysia, for example, military officers retire at much older age at 60 years old than enlisted personnel, 25 years of service in case of Malaysia and 48 years of age in Indonesia. Reason, officers are trained to think strategically for the armed forces, while enlisted personnel provide the physical prowess to execute the strategy at the ground level. Most Asian militaries allow longer service for the senior officers. Finally, Mr. Chairman, just like the laws that created GSIS and SSS, the unified pension system for uniformed personnel should be extensive enough so that it will not leave too much discretion to the pension administrator, especially in the benefits package implementation and fund management, as in the case of AFP RSBS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Admiral Marayag, for the inputs you have provided. We now move to the Department of Finance. Ms. Agustin, please, ma'am.
I apologize for my voice. The Department of Finance is a member of the Technical Working Group along with the DBM and DND. And as what the DND has said, we, as a group, we support the bill as it carries the main provisions of the Technical Working Group output, except that for Section 7, we noticed that the age, the compulsory retirement of 56 years old has been deleted, and we would like to, for the chair to reconsider, and also there's a section on page 3 from line 28 to 34 wherein a trust fund shall be created before the money is remitted to the UPRF. We know that the creation of a trust fund was basically for the main reason that the DOF has proposed the restructuring of an excise tax on petroleum products, wherein it could be one of the funding sources, and we agree that it could be earmarked to finance the seed fund, but since the bill does not anymore carry the excise tax, then the creation of a trust fund may no longer be necessary. Thank you.
Duly noted, Ms. Agustin. We now move to General Carolina, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. We have submitted our position paper regarding this proposed bill, Your Honor, more or less expressing the same concurrence as expressed by Undersecretary Batino, because we belong to the same department. But let me just speak on behalf of the veterans, highlighting the fact that those who retired from the armed forces, the AP retirees, are veterans, and therefore receive certain benefits provided under Republic Act 6948 as amended by 7696. And we hope that with the lessening of the obligation of government, if the proposed shift from a non-contributory to a contributory retirement pension system would materialize, would create some fiscal space that would allow government to rationalize many of the benefits being received by AP retirees, which have been left untouched since 1994, which is the year when Republic Act 6948 was passed. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank the chairman, because the chairman has initiated some of the bills that would look into and upgrade some of these benefits, particularly the burial assistance benefit, for example, which have been approved last year and is now being enjoyed by survivors of our veterans. I would like to highlight, for example, that disability pension benefit, Mr. Chairman. When a soldier die in the line of duty, or when a soldier acquires a disability in the line of duty, in lieu of lost capacity to be gainfully employed, he receives a disability pension of 1,700 a month for lost capacity to be gainfully employed. And this is a law that was passed in 1994, and definitely 1,700 is if the soldier is totally disabled. If 50% disabled, then he receives even much less. And it has been a long time that our retirees have been longing that this pension be adjusted. And we hope that this can be given attention already. The same is true for hospitalization and medical benefits of our veterans. We have only one veterans hospital, and again, I'd like to thank the chairman for sponsoring a bill that would allow the establishment of additional veterans hospital, at least one in the Visayas, one in Mindanao, and one in Northern Luzon. And again, with the prospects of creating additional fiscal space, maybe at least we can put up already a hospital in Mindanao, because there is already a 10-hectare lot donated by PIBDEC for that purpose. And then lastly, Mr. Chairman, I would like to highlight a bill that has been refiled already. It was filed in the 15th Congress, and again, our veterans, particularly the war veterans, are paying for this, the increase of old age pension. Because, you know, soldiers, when they retire, okay, they would ask, with the current Reform Act that would make them similarly treated as far as retirement pension is concerned, then maybe the question that they will ask is, so what makes us different when part of our statement of duty is they are authorized to die in the line of duty. And I think the answer to that, Mr. Chairman, is that they are veterans, and therefore they receive veterans benefits, and therefore it is now with this Reform Act, it is high time that we look at we rationalize this the rates of these benefits that they receive as veterans, because I think that is the equalizer. So maybe that old age pension, which again has been there for many years, can already be, maybe their prayers can be answered. Our war veterans who are not receiving retirement pension, there's a standing bill that would increase their old age pension to 20,000. That is only 1.8 billion and diminishing through the years, because they are fast diminishing in number. For the AEP retirees, the post-World War II veterans, the bill is to increase their old age pension from 5,000 to 10,000 pesos, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to highlight these inputs so that this can be given attention already in the light of this Reform Act that we are supporting, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, just to inform everyone, we have already sponsored the increase of the old age pension precisely to compensate for the suspension of the indexation. Now, let me just clarify, sir, the total disability pension. You were mentioning about the total disability pension earlier.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So, this would cover all members of the armed forces who were totally disabled in the line of duty before the age of retirement or before their eligibility.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
because a soldier, so even soldiers in the active duty, when they acquire disability, the degree of disability is determined by the armed forces, but the disability pension is paid by from PIVAW.
Yes. But just for example, if a soldier in the field would get totally disabled before reaching that eligibility requirements for retirement, would he receive the same pension equivalent to his rank? Not the disability pension, but in addition to the total disability pension, would he receive other benefits or pensions as well?
It depends, Mr. Chairman, because the amount of retirement pension that you
Yes.
get is depends on the number of years. Now, the sad part of the story is many of our soldiers who are disabled are those who have not completed 20 years. These are the young soldiers, corporals, privates. And what is happening, Mr. Chairman, is that dahil naaawa tayo, most of the time, if the disability can still be, he can still be used, the person, they continue to stay in the service. They become what we call TIG. Tiga-dilig, all of those. And mariretire patuloy, pay pension, and then we give them pension. But if we give them the correct disability pension separation pay, then we can take care of these people. There are also benefits for their children, scholarships, and replace them with able-bodied soldier.
Okay. I totally understand that, General Carolina. Probably we can include them as beneficiaries of the new pension plan, because anyway they have literally sacrificed their life and limbs for the service of the country, so they should be entitled to retirement benefits equivalent to those who are eligible for retirement.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
regarding disability pension,
Yes, sir.
under the law, RA 6948 as amended, Section 5 thereof provides for disability pension of active military personnel who incur disability. The pension ranges from 100 for a 10% disability to 1,700 for a 100% disability. In PIBAW, they have a board that determines the degree or percentage of disability. That is for the actual disability incurred in line of duty by any active military person. But there is a proviso of that Section 5 which was issued in 1994 under RA 7946, which provides that a veteran who incurs disability, a veteran who reaches the age of 70 shall be considered totally administratively disabled and be given a disability benefit of 1,700 for himself and 500 for the spouse, if any. Unfortunately, this benefit is not being granted to those veterans who reach the age of 70. But with the PIBAW intercession with Congress, those World War II veterans who reached the age of 80 were given a few years ago this benefit, partial. And I think last year, all of the World War II veterans who reached already after age 80, they have already been paid. The problem is for the other veterans, post-World War II veterans, who reached the age of 70, they are still awaiting the payment of their so-called TAD, or Total Administrative Disability Pension. And according to the Office of General Carolina, the amount due these people already is in the billions already. Nestor, how many billion na ang due these people for the
2.5.
TAD. So that is one benefit, Mr. Chairman, that may be considered if funds are available. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Anyway, sir, the specific instance that we discussed earlier are primarily to highlight those who were disabled totally while in active service. But in no way it would affect that provision to include those veterans who reach the age of 70, sir. Okay. Mr. Legaspi, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, and other guests around. I represent the AFP RSBS as its president. We have gone through the proposed legislative bill. However, I'll be more specific on the closure of RSBS as part of the bill. With regards to the other provisions, we totally agree with the positions of the DND, since we are part of the technical working group who drafted the proposed bill from a version of the DND. First of all, RSBS has already, through the Secretary of National Defense, had already initiated the deactivation of the system via the Governance Commission for GOCCs. We have already submitted our proposed deactivation plan and our disposal plan to the Commission through the SND, and we are just awaiting for a memorandum from that office, from that commission, for us to implement the deactivation. Technically, RSBS could have been deactivated way back in 2006 by EO 590 and 590A. This was issued by the Arroyo administration in late 2006, but was not implemented. There were questions on the legality of these EOs trying to close a corporation created by law. But I have said, if there are no rescission or the EO was not rescinded, then it is effective. We tried to appeal to Malacanang, to the palace, to rescind the EO, but we never got any answer. So we pursue with the activation of RSBS, which we think is the necessary thing to do. First, RSBS was not able to do its mandate. Two, there are some problems now with RSBS since we are paying 6% interest on members' contribution, but we cannot use these funds for investment purposes as directed by COA, since we are in the deactivated status. So how would the corporation or the system exist or stay alive? We are on a negative carry. We believe that the provisions you have stated here are consistent with our recommendation to GCG. However, I think this bill will still take a long time to enact, but the eventual closure of RSBS should be done as soon as possible. That's why we took the line through the GCG. We don't want RSBS to be totally depleted of its assets. However, as of this moment, we can still assure the armed forces, members of the armed forces who still have contributions with us, that we will be able to fully refund all their contributions and the interest accrued. RSBS has a total book value asset of around 16 billion, and payables or the liabilities to members is around less than 12 billion. So with our plans and the activation plan and disposal plan submitted to GCG, we hopefully be able to refund all the contributions and the accrued interest by members as they fall due. However, we will try our best to accelerate the activation and refund of all these liabilities, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Legaspi. May we ask the opinion of Commodore Garcia, sir?
I am not really ready I don't have any position paper, but I have
a few things off my whatever. And this is the timing of pension reforms. For example, we had a increase in pay several years ago. It's doubled, and that would have been a very good timing for pension reforms, but it was not taken advantage of. And I understand the recent salary SLL was minimal, and will not provide that opportunity to decide on whether to increase participation and contribution, etc., etc. So the timing is really very important, because while we want to receive more pension, our tendency is we don't like to contribute. That's one statement. But before that is a broader statement, Mr. Chairman, and that is that pension is a universal problem because old people like me refuse to die when maybe we're supposed to die already. And we're increasing in numbers. So, and it's also a national problem, not only a military problem, because in the same manner, we all refuse to die. The number of people at AGFO is increasing. It's at leaps and bounds. And with that situation, a pension problem becomes a political problem, which is resolved by numbers. Those who are numerous enough to push a certain proposal wins, or those who are strong enough. Of course, there are those who are noisy minority and silent majority. It becomes a political problem. If the veterans and retirees are strong enough, then they should be able to push pension reform. And that is, by strong, I mean politically strong. Going to specifics, Mr. Chairman, I have noticed here an item that's very close to my heart, and this is the provision for mentally challenged and physically handicapped children. I proposed this in the early 80s because I happen to have 2 autistic children, and I don't know how to support them. And I understand the number of mentally challenged and autistic children have increased by leaps and bounds, and we have to address that because the handicapped children are the poorest of the poor. They are not the urban poor or the rural poor. The handicapped children are the poorest of the poor. Then, lastly, Mr. Chairman, I think we should increase on the indirect benefits to veterans and retirees, like hospitals, medicine. There will be less actuarial debates on that, rather than this total disability, which has never been implemented, could be remedied by improving the Veterans Memorial Center, which I know has increased by leaps and bounds. I am a veteran of the veterans. 2 of my children stay there for months. And the difference now is terrific. It's cleaner. A lot of things have changed. And if we can duplicate that as proposed by you and the others in the other regions, then perhaps that's a less problematic way of increasing the benefits to veterans and retirees who needed it more than those in the active service. And lastly is the proposal to increase the age to 60. I think the experts here will agree with me that this has been taken advantage of in many countries. France, just to have a respite of suspending the money outflow for a year, suspending it for 4 years. And that will be a great benefit to the system. As to whether the older people are more strategically more useful, that is debatable. But maybe we could grant an exception to that. But certainly it will provide 4 years finance of respite from the outflow for the pension system. I'm sorry, that's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well, just to inform Commodore Garcia, sir, we have sponsored already the lifting of the 20-year-old limit for the mentally handicapped dependents of veterans and retirees. So hopefully by January it will be passed already into law. Now, regarding the veterans hospitals, we have, as mentioned by General Carolina, we have been pushing for the replication of the Veterans Hospital here in Metro Manila to the other regions, particularly in Mindanao. We can have one for Western Mindanao, one for Eastern Mindanao, one in the Visayas, and one in Northern Luzon. So, but given the rapidly closing legislative window, it's not very realistic at this point to expect any changes on that end. However, that advocacy will be carried on. Commodore Garcia mentioned that these issues eventually become political issues. And being a representative primarily from the soldiery profession, it is my role to be the voice. However, as in my capacity also as a national leader, I was able to see the concerns of the different sectors of the country. So it's now a challenge for me to balance these interests while being the voice for the soldiers and the veterans, which I believe ginampanan naman po namin. And it's just frustrating that it has become a thankless job. Despite everything that we have done, when we pushed for SSL3, just to inform the veterans, that early, pinapatanggal na indexation. But we fought for it. That's why the veterans were still included in the SSL3. Now, in the SSL4, I think I distributed a copy. In our committee report, the 2671, you won't find any suspension of the indexation. So this is our version. Before we get hanged for actually helping facilitate the passage of the SSL4, you'll have to understand that this was my proposal and this was the one I haggled with DBM and Malacanang. Well, to be honest, this administration wasn't supposed to increase a salary at all. But being the voice of the public sector, we pushed for it. Now, when I haggled with this administration through DBM and Malacanang, they placed me in a situation wherein we will either pass this SSL4 with the suspension of the indexation or no increase at all for everybody. So, if you are in my position, who's been balancing interests, well, in my case, I made that call. I believe that it is for the greater good of the public sector to or government employees to have this increase right now. But we're making sure na hindi naman makakalimutan yung retirees. Alam nyo, my mother is also a pensioner. Pumipila rin sa PIBAW, kasama rin siya sa mga naglo-loan madalas pag pwede na mag-loan, mag-reloan. And we also have a lot of soldiers with us from the Magdalo group who are retirees. And if only interest namin ang ilalaban, then by all means, we won't suspend this the same way that we didn't suspend it during the SSL3. But yun na nangyari. If we will lobby for it, it's too late in the day. We only have a few sessions left this year and next year. So that's the choice. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I made that call. But I haggled again, at least to increase the old age pension. So we're still in the process of haggling. What we have so far agreed on informally is to increase it from 5,000 to 8,000. Now, again, I understand that it's nowhere near the levels of the indexation. But again, this is what we can do for now. But the world will not end tomorrow. There will still be the next administration who we were hoping would have a better appreciation about the plight of the veterans. Now, as mentioned by Commodore Garcia, there are other ways of helping look out for the welfare of the veterans. Providing for or replicating the veterans hospitals everywhere would be one. Providing for this old age pension is another. The payment of the arrears is another. The payment of the total administrative disability pension would be another. And again, all of these things may fall short of the indexation, but still, I would like to believe that we fought for and we continue to fight for the interests of the veterans. Ganon kasi, we've been receiving mga text messages trying to crucify us, calling for the crucifixion of Mr. Trillanes and the other senators for passing the SSL4. So, sa akin, that's totally unfair and totally uncalled for. Jen and Carolina would attest to the fact that siguro ngayon lang tayo talaga naka-gain headway as far as veterans affairs are concerned, and we're not stopping. Should I be unfortunate to win in the next elections, I continue to be a senator of the Republic until the next Congress. I will continue to lobby for the interests of the veterans. And we provided here the automatic review, as mentioned earlier by Admiral De Los Reyes, which in fact is similar to the pension system for the U.S. Veterans. We can provide for the annual increase, as frequent as an annual increase based on the recommendation of this committee. And we also included in our bill the Secretary of the Department of National Defense. Kasi pagka DBM na lang at finance mag-uusap dyan, talagang lang yan, pera-pera na lang pag-uusapan, hindi na yung wala ng puso eh. So that's hindi naman ganon all the time. But nadidisregard yung interest. Kaya nga nandoon yung DND to look out for the interests of the veterans. Now, kung yung presidente kaalyado natin, I can go directly to them and lobby for that increase the same way that we lobbied for the increase itong SSL4. That's what people like me actually do. Not to push for our own interest, but the interest of the sector that we represent. So that's our idea about going about this this whole issue. And we will not stop. We will take the cue from the retirees and the veterans. But I hope you understand that's the context of this SSL4 situation. It was a judgment call. There were sectors that were affected. In fact, even the teachers were complaining. But again, that was the situation. We get this increase now, no matter how small it is, relatively speaking, or we don't get anything and we'll pass it on to the next administration. But nobody, even from the teachers, nobody said, or nobody asked me to stop it. So we went ahead with it. Now for the veterans, again, we continue to haggle for other benefits to compensate. Now, may I ask Professor Visario, sir, your position?
Thank you, Your Honor, please. I have with me my Secretary General and also the chairman of the Retirees Affairs Movement, the RAM, in the person of Colonel Ernesto Tan Jr. And also I have with me majority of the Board of Trustees of the Conference Assembly for Unity and Solidarity of Association in the Armed Forces Police, Retirees, Veterans, Pensioners Incorporated. The author of the 18 billion money claim that was granted by CUA and April 6 of 2015 and was finally made into in August 13 of 2015 also. The Secretary General, sir, will have to introduce our companions. Mr. Secretary General, please.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Kahit na po bad weather, nandito po kami. Akala ko po hindi matutuloy ito. Your Honorable Senator Trillanes. Thank you very much po dahil we have known only this gathering through General Arquesa when Colonel Tan went to Agpo for some personal activities. We were informed. That's why we wrote a letter addressed to Honorable Senator Trillanes that we could be included in here to represent the 123,000 pensioners throughout the country. This morning, we were very happy for all the people. Some of the regional representatives here. We would like to recognize them because they've tried their best. Some of them came from. I would like to read that from Region 2. We have two. We have two there. Region 2, and we have Region 3. 3. Region 4. Region 4A 8. Region 5 3. Including me. Region 6 2. Region NCR 4. Region 9 3. They tried their best. They bought the aircraft to be here because this is a very sensitive issue. This is concerning our security of our country. That's why here our chairman, Professor Visario, will explain about what we have tried our best. For information, we started in 2012, but for me alone, after the July 3, 2003 their activity here in Makati, I also embarked on October 2003 to be involved on these benefits. I joined the forces with General Abat, and then General Echeverria led us. That's why I was involved in this welfare of the armed forces. That's why this afternoon, our chairman will explain all about this.
Maraming salamat, Secretary General. Sa atin pong mga kasama, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. So the distinguished visitors and resource person, to Honorable Senator Trillanes, sir, I am Professor Visario. I came from Negros Occidental, and I retired after my 24 years serving in the armed forces. Started as at the age of 17 years old. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in honor, we are now on the 4th year of our secret operation, and that is the Kilusang Gatbayan, the KGB, that is launched by the 123,471 EP retirees, started in 2012 to fight against the CIA. That is the conspiracy inside the agency. Your Honor, please. I am very much happy that indeed the Honorable Senator finally invited the Causa EPRBPI. When his secretary called me up last night to receive the email letter coming from the Honorable Senator, I just would like to quote the words of James Madison. The great and essential rights of the people are secured not by laws paramount to prerogative, but constitutional paramount to law. Ako'y nagpapasalamat sa ating masipag na senador na binigyan tayo ng ganitong pagkakataon para pakinggan ang ating mga hinaing, ang ating mga salubin. Gentlemen, I have heard all the observations coming from the resource person, and in my humble representation, I just want to make a short explanation about the House Bill, the Senate Bill 3031. Alam po ninyo, simple lamang po ang pagkakaintindi ko dito. Hindi lamang ang House Bill 3031, kundi pati na po ang Senate Bill, ang House Bill 6268 at ang Senate Bill 3031. Ito po ay parang mag-asawa. Ganon din po sa PD 1638. It is in an AAP retirement separation system at saka yung yung PD 361 AAP RSBS. Mag-asawa ito po. No, si Pangulong Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos, ay nagkakaroon tayo ng political expediency at a time. Nagpalabas siya ng PD 361 at ito po ay ang RSBS. Ito po ang babae na iniluwag nung panahon ng Marcia at binigyan ng pondo 400 million from 1973 up to 1975. Napakaganda po. Ating Maria, ikaw po ay ating ginawang tao, iniluwal kita. Pagyamanin mo itong 400 million sapagkat ang kasunod niyan ay yung asawa mo. At yun po ang 1638 na inilabas noong September of 1979. I call it as a coupon for Christ. But what happened to this couple of Christ? Pinasok ng conspiracy inside the agency. Let me explain. Under the Constitution, Section 7 and Section 8, Article 16 of that Constitution, maliwanag po, huwag pabayaan ang mga retirees sapagkat mahalin natin sila at yan ay nagbubuhos ng buhay at dugo. Section 8, hanap po kayo ng pamamaraan na mabigyang lunas ang kahirapan at sa tuwi-tuwi na i-review ang kanilang pension system. Napakaganda po yun. But what happened? The basic law is the Constitution. The enabling law of that Section 7 and 8 of that Article 16 of the Constitution is the PD 1638 and PD 361. Under Section 17 of the PD 1638, maliwanag po na pagka mayroong increase ng salary standardization ang active military personnel, kasabay po niyan ay ang mga retirees. Napakaganda po. Huwag na lang po nating pag-uusapan yung 361 sapagkat nawindang-windang ang 361 at maya-maya natin pag-uusapan po yan. Gentlemen, the PD 1638 was an enabling law for the standardization and that is the Republic Act 9166. And under that law, Section 5 of that is the appropriation. Under that provision, dalawa lang po. It is two sides of the coin. One, pag-implement ng batas na iyon ay kinakailangan mag-umpisa at magagaling doon sa tinatawag na appropriation savings. Ibig sabihin, 2015, pag may natira after the end of the year, may natira, ipasok yan sa DAP sapagkat yan ay savings appropriation. At in the continued implementation of that act, papasok tayo doon sa tinatawag na GAA, General Appropriation Act. But what happened of that law? The late Angelo Reyes, the General Reyes, the chief of the Secretary of the Department of National Defense, and the late Bongkoden, Emilio Bongkoden, came up with implementing rules and regulation to certain provisions of Republic Act 9166. But in the provision of Section 3, the coverage, nawala po ang EEP retirees. But we continued to be included in the appropriations because there is a basic law. There is a basic law. That implementing rules and regulations should have been questioned because it violates Article 239 of the revised Penal Code, usurpation of the legislative function. But no one in the government dares to question that law. That is why it remains to be the former government allow it to stay. Gentlemen and ladies, napakakalungkot po na dumating tayo sa puntong ito. Now, binasa ko po ang batas. Ay napakaganda po ang batas na ito. House Bill 6268, an act codifying the compensation and position classification system of civilian government personnel and the base pay schedule of military and uniformed personnel in the government and for other purposes. Dito po sa batas na ito, Section 11, military and uniformed personnel. The military personnel of the Department of National Defense and the uniformed personnel of the Department of Interior and Local Government, the Philippine Coast Guard, the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority shall be covered by this base pay. Ay napakaganda po. But the last paragraph says, notwithstanding the provision of Presidential Decree number 1638 and Republic Act number 8551, a law that govern the PNP, and considering the pendency of the passage of this pension reform, this is the pension reform that we are talking now, establishing sustainable and just pension system for military and uniformed personnel, the indexation pension benefits of retired military and uniformed personnel with the base pay for those in the active service shall be suspended insofar as the base pay increase authorized in this act is concerned. Gentlemen and ladies, I am a professor. Hinalungkat ko ang dictionary, ang tamang definition ng dictionary. What is suspension? Cease from paying the obligation. The obligation that is constitutionally mandated the government to pay us because there is a contract which is the PD 1638. Ito po, maliwanag po sa batas. Pag sinabi po nating suspension, itigil.
Excuse me, Professor Visario.
Yes, sir.
I believe all of us are quite aware, and in fact, I just delivered my piece a while ago in relation to what you were bringing up just now. And this forum right now is about the pension reform bill. Now, I understand, I totally respect your concerns about possible constitutional violations, and your organization is free to raise it to the Supreme Court, and believe me, I won't oppose it. So, if you won't mind, since all of us here are running on a very tight...
Your Honor, please give me 5 minutes, if I may.
Just 2 more minutes, sir, okay, so that you can wrap up your
yes, sir.
piece.
You have there in Section 4, Your Honor, standardization. Napakaganda po ito. Section 5 is rationalize. Dito po sa rationalization, the retirement benefits of and pension of all existing retirees and future retirees shall immediately cease to be subject to automatic adjustment based on the prevailing scale of base pay for active military personnel. To my mind, Your Honor, this is irrational, if I may. Please, excuse my word, irrational. Sapagkat, kung titingnan mo ang economics index natin, Malthusian theory, pag dumami ang population, dadami din ang nangangailangan na social benefits and economic factors. Dito po, ang mga retirees ay dumadagdag, taon-taon po. Ay ano pong mangyayari sa mga retirees? This is irrational, please, if I may. The creation of the Uniform Personnel Retirement Fund, again, if I may, I have a law of Republic Act 186, Commonwealth Act 186, which is the GSIS. Never mentioned there that the GSIS, I don't know if there is an amendment, never mentioned in that law that the GSIS is mandated to create a department that will manage the pension system. What is there is the retirement insurance benefit, not the retirement pension system, if I may, Your Honor. Please. Because I am not in favor of having this kind of department. My position, Your Honor, is to strengthen the RSBS and come up with a workable management.
Well, with that, Professor Visario, we have heard your opposition,
yes,
and we have heard your recommendation. Now, please allow us to proceed. I hope you understand. We will, if you have a position paper, you can submit it to the committee, and be assured that all of these inputs would be duly considered. Now, I would like everybody to be assured again na the interest of the veterans and the soldiers ay itinutulak po natin. Talagang nakulong nga po kami for 7.5 years eh. Para lang mapangalagaan eh. Ngayon, it's going to be totally unfair na by just allowing us itong the passage of the SSL4 ay bibitayin na kami, and all of the things that we have done for the interest of the veterans will be undone. Hindi po ganon. Kasi nga, the world will not end. I assure you, the world did not end with the approval of the SSL4. Marami pang in store dito. We balance the interest of the state. Pag pinagpatuloy po yung indexation, the way it was presented to me, I presume that the Department of Finance at DBM ay hindi naman tayo pinapaikot, but it was already validated by Admiral Marayag na mababangkarote ang buong estado. So that's the dilemma, and I wish we could have found a better formula, and we are looking for a better formula to balance the interest. So ito na nga yung ginagawa po natin, the supposed new pension fund mechanism is designed purposely to stop the bleeding, so to speak. But what happens in the interim? In the interim, which is the present retirees and the future retirees covering until the new entrants, as raised by General Alquisa, if there is a better way, itutulak ko po yan. But for now, talagang the indexation is suspended, and but yun pinopropose na periodic review, as you mentioned in the stated in the Constitution, and as proposed also by Admiral De Los Reyes, andito natin nilagay, we will just refine the mechanisms to make sure na meron increase periodically, whether it's annually, biannually, as needed. Then the non-monetary benefits as proposed by General Carolina and Commodore Garcia, ay sound kasi ito yung real needs ng mga veterano, yung medication needs and so on and so forth. Even yung nandito na yung total disability benefit, it's real. Kung sir, kung maibibigay yung backlog na yon, how much would one retiree receive, at least ballpark, sir, John Carolina, kung yung mabibigay yung arrears sa total disability benefit?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, the total amount involved, as far as AP retirees are concerned, is 2.5 billion. But let me announce that, after all, it has been published in the papers. The House and the Senate has considered and factored into the 2016 JAA 1.2 billion of the 2.5. In other words, the 80 years old and above AP retirees will be paid their TAD. That is about 5,000 people. So 1.2 billion divided by 5,000. More or less, that is the windfall that... but of course, it depends on their age.
Yes,
Like
sir.
Commodore Garcia will receive less compared to General Alquisa. But that's 1.2 billion.
Yes,
But
sir.
the remaining, the 70 years to 79, nasa JAA din po, 1.3. And I'd like to announce that the chairman was a big factor in pushing. Dahil unfunded po yun eh. Pero naipasok nila sa JAA. Nasa program nga lang yung 70 to 79 years old. Which is not bad news at all. Ibig sabihin, maghihintay lang po yun up to the end of the year because with the performance of the economy, I have no doubt that they're going to be paid because it is also appropriated. So, Mr. Chairman, that's 2.5 billion. And on top of that, yung 3.5 billion for the widows of the World War II veterans whose total administrative disability had accrued because they died before government paid, ay kasama rin po dun sa JAA for proposed JAA for 2016.
Well, yun nga sir, as mentioned, we had to haggle because alam ko masasaktan yung retirees with the suspension of the indexation. But so naghanap kami ng pwedeng ibigay, which is the payment of the arrears. I talked to the Secretary of DBM, yung arrears ng pension of the latest SSL3. I talked to the Secretary, to Secretary Abad, and he already agreed na i-release yun. May inantay na lang na list, which I believe na submit na ng PBAW. So, it's on the way. Ngayon, how fast that way is ay depende sa mga lubak sa tuwid na daan. I wish kontrolado namin dito, sir. I wish kontrolado. But that was the most that I can do. I was haggling with them what they can give dun sa sector na tatamaan. In fact, even sa teachers, I haggled. Sabi ko, kahit isarado niyong gawin yung 1,000 yung increase nila, but the DBM won't budge. So talagang I'm just looking at the next administration so that we can push for amendments to those rates. We're hoping na yung susunod na administrasyon ay mas may puso para sa mga retirees. Dahil doon yung ano namin even if I can lobby, I can push for the interest, but if yung nakaupo sa pwesto ay wala sa kanyang lugar sa puso niya ang mga veterano, talagang wala hong mangyayari. So we're hoping things will change, and sabi ko nga, we will not stop. Ipagpapatuloy lang natin yung paglalabi. Now, can I move first, sir, General Benafe, for your position?
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, in behalf of the Chief PNP and the Philippine National Police, I would like to thank the Chairman for looking into the welfare of the retirees, especially so that in a few years we will all be joining also the ranks of the retirees. Thank you, sir. For several years now, after the Republic Act 8551 was implemented, whereby the Pension and Benefits Administration of the PNP was separated from the GSIS, the retirement and benefit funds have been managed by DBM. The PNP processes their claims through the PNP Retirement and Benefit System, its Directorate for Controllership, and the PNP Finance Service. And just like in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the number of retirees have been increasing significantly. As of the present counting, we have a total of 73,642 pensioners in the Philippine National Police. This is about 70,000 from the Philippine National Police and 3,000 from the former INP officers. And the program for the 2016 budget is about 24.6 billion for the retirees or their beneficiaries. And included also is a budget of about 1.5 billion for new pensioners. Therefore, the demand for funds and its administration is significantly increasing every year. Hence, unifying the pension and benefits administration of the uniformed personnel under the GSIS is highly favorable, as it is envisioned to reduce costs and enhance services for the benefit of our retirees. The position paper, the comprehensive position paper of the PNP is not yet ready, and may I just state that when I left Kamkrame, this representation did not receive any adverse recommendations from the PNP leadership as regards the Senate Bill 3013. And I would like to repeat that it is beneficial for the PNP that pension and benefits administration of the uniformed personnel under the GSIS is highly favorable. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. May we ask the representative from DBM?
Sir, first of all, we are part of the technical working group with DND regarding the pension reform study. So we agree fully with some exceptions. One is the statement which would clarify that even without while the UPRF is being established and being built up, that the pension requirements of the military and the uniformed personnel would still be paid by the General Appropriations Act or charged against the General Appropriations Act, because as it is, the funding has already been identified, but we would assume that there would be a building up period for the fund before it would be stable. We fully agree also with the observation of the DOF that at this point there is no need for the establishment of a trust fund, because it would just delay the implementation of the reformed structure, no, in the event that there will be no excise taxes on petroleum. Thirdly, Your Honor, we would like to take exception to the fact of being called heartless, because I think this administration actually is the first administration in history which has consistently paid its arrearages to its veterans and the adjustments to its to the active as well as the retired sector of the military and the uniform. That is all, Your
Thank you, Asekanda. Well, I apologize for the heartless comment. Let me assure you that it was not meant for the DBM personnel, because I've been dealing with you, especially with the passage of the SSL4. But I meant that in the sense that when the Department of Finance and DBM are the ones talking, they only look at numbers. But if there's the representative, or specifically the Secretary of National Defense, he would look at things in a different light. He would look at those numbers as real soldiers, real people who actually served the country well and sacrificed so much so that we can enjoy the blessings of democracy. So that's what I actually meant. Somebody who will push for their interest. Anyway, thank you, ma'am. We now move to GSIS. Ma'am.
Good afternoon po, sir. For the GSI, sir, we have also been the part of a technical working group which has been on this project for quite some time now. We have been commissioned to do the study for the purpose of finding out kung magkano po ang kailangan para maging sustainable yung fund, ang pension system for our uniformed personnel. As an administrator of a pension funding po, sir, the aging issue is as real with the GSIS as it is with our uniformed personnel. Damang-dama po namin yung problemang yon kasi kami as administrator of the GSIS, we try to find